What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor is down 1.57%, largely piggybacking off of the broader market's negativity. 492 the low, 540 the high, and a fair amount of volume. So 275 million shares being traded, 297 is the average. As far as today goes, Opendoor hasn't put out any news. So like I said, just piggybacking off of just the market's interpretation of the JOLT numbers. And so even based on my video over the weekend, it's a weird feeling. And I hated 2023 and 2024 just because the market's inverse mentality. And what I mean by that is today we had JOLT numbers. So for instance, openings came in at 7.1 million, forecast of 7.3. Quits came in at 3.2, 3 million the forecast. Not good data, but this is essentially what the market does want, because now we do see the likelihood of a Fed cut for now even the October meeting to be increased. So now there's a 53% likelihood of either a 50 basis point cut or potentially a following 25, and that's piggybacking off of the September 17th. And even for the September, you see a 95.4% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So this is something that I mentioned over the weekend, that this negative data, if we got it, was going to really solidify a rate cut. But this is where the market's starting to freak out, is because essentially it is negative data. This is something that Powell was somewhat worried over, and you have a lot of other Fed speakers kind of saying somewhat the same thing a little bit. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. I do feel that the market will be potentially better in the foreseeable future with rate cuts. So I think this is just more of a short-term type of disruption, but there is a lot of other labor data for the rest of the week, such as Thursday and Friday, that's going to change everything. So anticipate a lot of volatility, like I said, but nonetheless, there was a 14 or a Form 4, amended Form 4 that was submitted after hours yesterday. And I've been covering stocks for a very long time, and I can honestly tell you I've never seen this happen. And so it is kind of good, the fact that this CEO, Carrie, has kind of stepped out, because whoops, didn't sell X amount. I think it was 700,000 shares or whatever else. She sold 7 million shares. So I think given the circumstances, this is the best case scenario, the fact that she is outdoor, because if she was the current CEO, I can almost guarantee Opendoor would be down a good 25 to 30%, because if you ever see a CEO just dumping this amount of shares, and plus making a amended Form 4, which is already a red flag in among itself, like the stock is going to sell off. But luckily enough, she's out the door. So the market clearly doesn't like this, but it's like, okay, it's old news kind of. So this is something I just wanted to bring up. Nothing really crazy as far as right now, but still, I think investors are looking for that next big catalyst. Regarding shorts, they are returning 2.3 million shares. So of course, reading between the lines, shorts returning on this red day kind of does signal that they feel like it's unjustified. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. But 23.94% of the free float is being shorted. Works to be 157.5 million shares overall being shorted. So shorts are still playing their game ultimately, but by the end of the week, once the market does officially price in a following 25 basis point cut for the October meeting, then this is where a lot of growth stocks should really move higher. As far as right now, I think the market's already priced in this one right here for September, but October, that's new. It just popped up a couple days ago. So again, something to keep in mind. Looking at the options, we have 33 million in calls, 4.95 million in puts, 45% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. So I think just based on everything that has been stated, people are, and big money is assuming that more downside is coming. Based on the bulls though, you still do see a consensus for it to be kind of around that $5.50 to $6 range. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub between like $4.50 and $5. So definitely still a little bit more upside, but there is a lot more bearishness now. And this is something I mentioned, I think on my last Friday video, is that if you kind of go and analyze a lot lot of the options data, you are seeing more and more weakness. So again, I think the writing's been on the wall that somehow big money is anticipating some level of a pullback, whether it be specific to Opendoor and maybe lack of catalyst, or whether it's prompted because of the broader market. But nonetheless, these are some of the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So a couple of pockets of selling. So this is what's really bringing it down since around noon. Aside from that, though, a lot of good transactions still. So I'd still rather see a lot of institutions trading it than algorithmic trading, because when it comes to a momentum stock, you need kind of attention on it. You need actual institutions trading it. And so that's kind of happening. So that's always a good thing. As far as dark pool, these are all the transactions occurring there. So very, very popular exchange. I'm going through it relatively fast just to give you guys a representation of what I mean. And so often enough, dark pool is used by shorts and hedge funds, as I always kind of explain to you. But with it right now at 504, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 476 is going to be that next strong support. And then 549 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So it's kind of level between here. And one thing as well to keep in mind is today, with it being Wednesday, might be somewhat premature to start looking at, but this is the open interest. So you have 61,000 at that 5, 30,000 at that 550, and then 47,000 at that 6. So best case scenario, Opendoor does close above, let's say 6, then you could see a very nice gamma squeeze going into the following week. But at the same time, quickly going over here, you see a little bit more walls. So more institutions kind of selling at that 520 to 530 mark. So that's going to be a key point to really watch for. And then aside from that, though, you still do see a fair amount of buying in the 4s. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to see a little bit of a battle. Ultimately, looking at the flow, still some algorithmic trading. It is a little bit on the low end in comparison to what it normally is. But like I said, I think that's kind of a good thing. The fact that institutions are trading it, and there hasn't been any new analyst ratings, as you can kind of see. So the last one did come out August the 20th, and that's where it went from about $2.50 to $4, a upgrade by this OpenAI. So the analyst was 𝗖𝗓. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from all of that fun stuff, getting back to the chart, it's still, yes, it's consolidating with the broader market, but still above all the key moving averages that I generally like to look at. So Opendoor, in my opinion, very much a momentum stock, so you need it to stay above this 10-day moving average. As soon as you start to see weakness and it break below it, then anticipate a pullback. So that's going to be something just to watch for, at least for those short-term day trader and kind of swing trader type of mentalities. And then as of right now, though, it's above all the other key moving averages that generally I like to look at. So the 50, 100, and 200. Stochastic RSI, somewhat neutral in nature. So of course, a little bit more room for it to kind of move higher. It just needs a catalyst. I know it kind of sounds very repetitive of me to mention that almost every video, but stocks only go up for so long, and even having a cult-like mentality will only take you so far. You need a catalyst, and so hopefully that the company does have something in their back pocket and can really push higher. So let me know your thoughts on Opendoor. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you were looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.